Is it Daft Bunny, man?
That is. Hello and welcome to another episode of Marketing Strategy Lab. I'm your host, Jason Edwards, along with my good friend and your co-host, Jeff Koga. If you're watching the live stream, then we want to welcome you again in the future to go to marketingstrategylab.com/live every Wednesday at 9 o'clock Pacific, 11 o'clock Central, usually sometime around there when we can get all the technical difficulties worked out. But with that being said, I got again, my good friend Jeff Kogan. How are you doing today, Jeff?
I am feeling much better than the last 2 days, or the 3 days ago. I think you know this. I blew my back out playing basketball, so I feel like a crippled old man. And my girlfriend just made a joke and called me the Hunchback of Notre Dame. So I was just like, oh my god.
Oh man,
So yeah, man. So
supposed to be
it's bad. And
supportive.
anyone. Yeah, but then she likes to give it little jokes. And anyone that has actually hurt their back, their lower back, right, or even injured anything, you know that it's painful, man. I struggle getting out of bed, and some of the stuff that, you just think that is you take it for granted, right? Like just getting out of bed, I'm just struggling. And she said that I look like a snail out of its shell or turtle out of its shell because I'm like rolling around like, oh, it hurts. So, yeah.
Well, I wanted to just say we do have a lot of new iTunes reviews. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to pull it up for some reason. It's slowing down my computer, but we will mention all of you guys on the next show, and we really appreciate it. All of you who have gone to marketingstrategylab.com/reviews. We're getting some really great comments. We had a goal initially, Jeff, of getting 500 reviews in our first 60 days. We got about 10 to 15% of that, but still, from our other podcast that we had, Real Estate Strategy Lab, we greatly surpassed that. So at the end of the day, I'm very happy with the results, and people keep putting new reviews every day, so we really appreciate it. But we have a good topic today. It's something that we started our Badass Mastermind Marketing Group, BAM, a few weeks ago, and we're already starting to get some people post case studies in there. It's free for right now, so definitely go to joinbam.com, joinbam.com, and you can join. It's a Facebook group, and we're sharing a lot of our results, a lot of the things we're working on in our business, and also a lot of people are starting to post their squeeze pages, their membership platforms, whatever they're doing, to see what our thoughts are and whatever the community's thoughts are. So definitely join us there. But my point in saying that, Jeff, is a lot of people had a question about starting your first initial product. A lot of people have a lot of ideas and see other people making money online and selling different information products and things, and they don't really know where to start. So I know we wanted to cover that topic today, right?
Absolutely, and I think it's a topic, it's a hot topic actually, especially with technology and with people just seeing the value of just being able to create something from basically literally out of nothing, and to be able to create something where you can get what we like to call passive income. Jason and I, we talk about this a lot in our show, and with our background being in real estate, we know that to make wealth in real estate, we talk about is what passive income, right? Cash flow, where you can have an injured back like me, can't even work for the last few days or so, and then money is still coming in. That's really it's a beautiful thing, and that's really what you want, because you want to have your what you like to call your soldiers, right? Your George Washingtons, right? Working for you while you're actually physically sleeping, so that way
Yeah.
money still comes in without you thinking about it. So that's what we're going to talk about, not just why it's important, right? But then actually how to create your first online product, and how you can do it at a fast speed. And we have some pretty cool stuff that we're going to cover. So
Yeah, I know that was kind of the catalyst for me starting and working with you, is when I was working in the real estate industry. I had very successful months, and then months that not a lot of money came in, so it was definitely a peaks and valleys type thing. But what really happened when I had an injury, I broke my leg. I slid into third base playing softball and broke my leg, and the money stopped because I wasn't able to go out and meet new clients, and just it was kind of an endless trap. Now, whether you're self-employed and kind of in that roller coaster, or if you're working for someone as a 9 to 5 type job, if you don't go to work, obviously, if after your vacation days run out, if you have any, then the money's gone. So I wanted to partner up with you and figure out ways that we could not only educate people but also build some of those streams of income. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And you talked a lot about it
Yeah.
initially, is creating that
And
initial
hold
passive
on.
income.
We got to get a little clarity here, okay? You said third base, so for you nasty-minded person, you guys, right? He's not talking about that third base. He was actually really playing baseball, and he calls me up, and I think he told me one of that time when you called me up, he says, "Yeah, man, I broke my leg," and I said, "You broke your leg? Which bone did you break?" So can you tell the people what bone you broke? Because it's like a bone that no one actually ever breaks, right?
A lot of people actually do, and in baseball, sliding into base, it's my fibula. It's my left leg, and the smaller bone in the lower part of your leg
Really?
snapped,
People
and it was not.
But isn't the fibula like one of the strongest bones in your body?
No, that's the femur. The femur is your thick upper leg bone.
Oh, okay,
But
okay,
your lower
yes,
leg has a fibula and tibula. I broke my
okay,
fibula.
okay, okay.
I didn't know we were going to have a biology class too. I thought this was just marketing stuff.
Hey, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. I learned something new. So, fibula and
Yeah, but
tibula.
it's,
So,
the point of it was, if you can't go out and work, it's nice to know that you have some streams of income still coming in. And that's why everyone has some knowledge in them that they could educate someone else on and earn an income from it. So this is really how to create your first initial product. We'll get into the different steps of that. But let's go ahead, Jeff, and talk about why this is important. We talked a little bit about the passive income aspect. What else? What are some other reasons to go and create those initial products?
now, before we tell you exactly why it's important, okay, I want to set the kind of framework, right? So I'm
Okay.
oh yeah, pre-framing you guys, okay? The framework, okay? The framework again on the story of what Jason and what we're going through. Like me, I'm just currently, literally, I'm injured. I can't even stand up. I have like a pillow behind me and doing that. And the beautiful thing is passive income, where you don't have to do anything and the money comes in, okay? So why is this important? Obviously, create passive income. That's number one, okay? A couple other things is what I like to call a list building strategy, right? So we all know that in any business, right, you need to have what? A list. Right? It's a lot easier to start any business when you actually physically have a list of clientele that you can go after, right? Especially if you have a relationship with that list. So for example, I'll give you a couple of other examples, right? Like for us, we went from an actual real estate investment firm, right? And we branched out into the educational arm with me and Jason. And the reason why we did that is because we had a pretty big following just in our investment company because we did a lot of different type of marketing, and it was a very easy transition, right? If we didn't have that list, then it would have been a little bit more difficult for us to create that passive income very, very quickly, okay? And it's the same thing here, that now we're transitioning into marketing strategy lab, going after talking about just marketing stuff for other businesses and other clienteles of ours. It's a lot easy for us because we have an email list that we can transfer over. And especially if you guys are watching this, you're listening to this and you see us, hello, then you know that, hey, you know what, you guys know who we are, and you know that, hey, it's a lot easier to do business with people you like. So the point of all of this is that when you create a product, list building becomes very easy. And we're going to go into it later in the second half of this podcast on how to create that product and how to create it very quickly, but also be able to use it as kind of a loss leader, as I like to call it, right? Where we've taken strategies from different companies, and we actually review different companies and see how companies acquire new customers. I mean, okay, there's an old story that we talk about, which is the guitar pick story, right? If anyone's in the internet marketing world, you may have heard of this guitar pick story, where there's this particular guitar company, okay, that sells custom guitars, high-end custom guitars. Now, these people sell high-end custom guitars, but they have one quiver in their back, okay, meaning that they have one go-to move. And that go-to move is they sell a crap load of guitar picks on like eBay or something like that, right? Like in like hundreds, like 100 packs or something like that. And the reason why they do that is because, it's kind of easy to say like, okay, yeah, if your customer is people that are going to buy guitars, but not just regular guitars, right? Custom guitars, meaning that they're not the, introductory, hey, I just want to learn how to play, some type of, guitar. No, it's the actual people that are probably musicians or amateur musicians, and in their case, they're going to need a lot of guitar picks. So guess what? This company sells a lot of those guitar picks at cost to acquire paid customers, and once they get a paid customer in the door on their profile, then they start selling the actual physical product. And that's what I mean by lost leaders. So by you creating this online product, it helps tremendously. The other things are like controlling your assets, right? Because once you create this product, it becomes an asset for your company that you can use to generate more income.
Yeah, I mean,
And the other thing.
we talk sometimes about affiliate marketing where you are promoting other people's products, which we do use a portion of that in our business to generate income, but it's not our entire business, only because if that person decides to take their product off the market, if that marketplace changes, maybe it's only on Facebook or only on ClickBank or only on something, and we're now limited to what we can do with that product, we don't have control over what happens with that. But if we have our own product, then now we're just putting that in the most viable marketplace there is. So if something goes wrong with a certain place, we just shift everything to where the new traffic is going, and we control that asset, is what you're talking about.
Absolutely. And the other big reasons why I got into kind of this information publishing side is because in my investment company, right, we were running into a lot of challenges as our company was growing. And as anyone that have grown a company to like 7 figures will know this, is that as you start expanding your business, right, what happens is that things become a lot more difficult to manage, right? So to manage them, you're going to have to put operations and policies in place. So as I started doing this and doing it more, and I was sharing it with our mastermind and then some of our friends, they were just like, oh my God, this is some great stuff. So Jason and I were having this conversation. We're just like, you know what, let's start selling this stuff, because we've already created it, and it's not like, it's going to help other people, and also we can make some money off of this. So we ended up start selling it, and people bought, and that kind of turned into another business that basically brings in another income. So it's basically repurposing your energy that you used to create something for your core business, and then recreating a passive income. So again, this way of doing this is just very, very powerful, because you can create literally money out of thin air, where if we need money, Jason and I, we can literally send out an email to sell something, and we can literally make money. And it's an ATM machine that we have. So it's a really, really cool stuff. So
yeah, and the other thing is building authority. Even if you don't plan on selling thousands and thousands of units of something, just the fact of creating, even if it's a free product or a very low-cost initial product, it gives you authority, because now someone is coming to you and you're teaching them something. And after that exchange of information has happened and you've taught somebody a new skill, a new tactic, a new strategy, now you're seen as an authority because you've taught them something. So we use that a lot with a lot of different industries that we're in, where we'll put out a minimum product that we can do in that particular niche, and now we become an instant authority in that niche because we've created that.
Correct. And I'll give you a tangible example for anyone that's listening or watching this. Is there's actually a business, an import business that I was part of, importing, exporting, modern design products and stuff like that. And one of the ways to generate business, I said, was to come up with hey, write a book about it, right? How to remodel your bathroom, how to remodel a kitchen and stuff like that. So we ended up launching this book on Amazon, and if you actually Google or go to Amazon and you put in how to remodel a bathroom, it'll pop up, and this book pops up, and this book gets a lot crazy downloads, okay? From the time that we launched it a couple months ago, we've actually had over, I want to say, 6,000 downloads of this particular book. And of course, some of it was actually free, right? Because Kindle allows you to actually do like little campaigns where you can sell it for free, the book. But the fact is, it downloaded that many times, meaning that 6,000 potential customers that actually physically saw that message from your book. So again, the information product or the online product that you create doesn't have to be directly related with your business, right? Just like the import-export business that sells modern home design products, right? You create a product on how to, do a home remodel product, right? That's one. The other one was the custom guitar company that sells the custom guitars, and they sell guitar picks online, right? So it's not directly related, but it brings them through your funnel, so that way you can sell them your core offer. Okay, so again, when it comes to authority, as Jason said, doing those things put you in a position where people will go ahead and say, oh my God, these people know their stuff, you know. And it's not an accident or coincidence that Jason and I, do these types of stuff, and we actually, try to spread a lot of the goodwill, good karma. You know, it takes a lot of work. You know, it's not easy stuff. I tried to do it last week on my own, and I was having so much of trouble, man. So.
That's right. You can't do it without me.
So, yeah, man, I was struggling. So
if you're watching the live stream again, there's a chat box below. You can definitely chat in. Also, there's some links where you can join our private mastermind group. It's free right now. So go to joinbam.com if you're listening to the audio, or there should just be some buttons on the page where you can join, and we'll approve you and start masterminding with you. The last reason that we came up with, Jeff, for creating your first product is kind of a dual purpose, and you touched on it a little bit, but it's kind of not only creating the product, but also creating an operations guide or operations manual for your companies. So you want to talk about that? Because I know you use that a lot in your businesses.
Yeah, you know, it's how can I say this? Okay, let me start from the beginning, okay? I know we kind of touched bases on this, but creating an information product first was kind of a byproduct of something that I was already doing in my own business. Okay, meaning that I'm in a business, my core business is as a real estate investor, I flip houses. So if you were to Google Jeff Koga or Capital Redevelopment Group, you'll see some of the projects that I've been involved in. And now the sad truth about this business is that it has a very high, what I like to call attrition rate, meaning that a lot of times people want to learn the business, and once they learn it, they want to branch off and go do it on their own. So it came to a point where I was teaching a lot of people, but people were actually leaving the company, that kind of stuff, and I got sick and tired of, teaching this stuff over and over, because I was doing what I like to call a tribal method of teaching, right? And I talk about this a lot in our podcast, which is, and some of you guys actually may have done this, they say, hey, you know what, new person that's coming into our company that's going to help us on X, Y, and Z, let me show you how to do this. So they go, hey, come sit by me, let me show you. And you sit there typing away and says, here, this is how you do it, this is how you do it, and you teach it, right? But you don't really have a strategy behind how to train those people up. And when you don't have that, it's a tribal way of teaching, because you have to do that every single month. So why do I call it tribal? Because it's the same thing as if someone says, hey, Jason, you want to learn how to hunt a buffalo? You want to learn how to hunt a mammoth? Hey, I'll send you out in the field. Come out with me to the field. So you and I go out in the field, and we have these spears and bows and arrows, or even rocks. And I say, here, this is how you throw a spear. And we're constantly doing that. And by the time you learn it, and I have to teach someone else, then I have to reteach it again. Versus I can be like, hey, you know what, dude, watch this video. Or hey, follow this manual, and then it's going to teach you everything that you need to know on how to, start a fire, how to throw a bow, how to throw a rock at the elephant at a right place, and if you're into that kind of stuff, So
yeah. So I mean, you can see it as a product that you sell, or it can also be a product that helps cultivate a standard that your business operates by. Like in real estate right now, I have an office. I'm a real estate agent, even though I primarily focus on the marketing aspect. I still sell real estate and flip houses myself. And there's a lot of new agents that come in, and they ask me sometimes to train those guys and girls. And I sit them down, and I do what you just mentioned. I say, oh, let me show you how I do this and this. And I really should create a video that shows what I do, because then they go talk to somebody else, and somebody else thinks I'm crazy because I do it one way, and they've been doing it for 20 years some other way. So if you want some standard kind of platforms of how your business operates, then creating these videos and creating these products for how your business operates is going to set you apart from everybody else, because most people do what you're talking about and just sit one person down and show them, and the next month do the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, just total waste of time. And then just as a side note, I know I'm going off on a tangent. I do this a lot, Jason, but I want to give some golden nuggets on how you can do this at scale very quickly, okay? And I learned this from one of my mentors and coaches, which is when you do this, do something like this, right? We're doing a Google Hangout. This video is being recorded as we're going to repurpose this in our podcast, right? But it's being recorded. So how cool will it be if you have a virtual assistant, you have a team member, that you actually do this type of interview, right? Like you're going to teach them something, right? Because you can share screens and stuff like that. So you go on here and you actually physically record it, and then when you record it, guess what? You have a special YouTube account set up just for your operations for your actual company. And not only that, but then you actually put that video as private, okay, on that YouTube account, and the instructions on there, the details and stuff like that, you put it in the description area of the actual YouTube video, so that way you can have bullet points on what you're actually physically teaching. So if that particular assistant, if that particular team member, if that particular virtual assistant, if that typical contract worker or whatever physically just says, oh no, 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 you know, I'm no longer working with you, or they just miraculously disappears, or you fire them or whatever, it's easier to just physically give that link to someone else, and it'll be easy to actually just, you know, hey, they can watch it and they can actually learn about it, right? So it's a very quick process. So I want to give that golden, actionable, tangible strategy that you guys can use, because that's what we currently do in my own business right now. I get on the training calls with my assistant I've been working with for almost now 4 years now, and we actually physically do these recordings on Hangout, and we record, and we do it every single day here at 7 p.m. actually. You know, since I hurt my back, I haven't done it for a while, but then we started getting back at it, and 7 p.m. we're training again and doing it again. So I want to give that kind of golden nugget. So where the heck were we going with this, Jason?
Well, we were just talking about the reasons why to create the product. I think everyone gets the concept. The biggest one, in my opinion, is creating that passive stream of income, because that allows you to have freedom of location and do the things you want to do. And also, if things, you have challenges in your life. I've had some health problems after my surgery and broken bones and things, and it's nice to have the ability to bring in passive income. So we're past that point. Now let's talk about just quickly our story. I think we've told it a few times, so I'm just going to do a shortened version of how we kind of created our first product, Jeff, and then we'll get into the action steps of just some bullet points of how you can go out and create that first initial product very easily. So our story very simply is that we had a successful podcast, right? You and I were doing the podcast every week and getting a lot of great comments and great feedback from the show, but we hadn't really created any income other than some affiliate marketing stuff that was here and there, but nothing consistent. So I believe you called me up on a Wednesday, and I was traveling, and you said, hey, on Friday we're going to do a webinar. We're going to sell a boot camp telling everyone this new strategy that you were working on your flipping houses business. And I said, well, Friday is way too soon. I mean, there's no way that we could set it up and plan it, and we need to create slides, and we need to get emails out. We need to do all these things. You said, well, we're going to do it. I've already scheduled it and booked the time and paid for it. We had a professional recording person. I've already paid for it, so we got to do it. So that put the pressure on me, and you had already invited some people to it, so we had to really do it. Once you invite people, then you got to deliver, right? So take it from there, Jeff. Kind of where do we go from that point?
Well, you know, it's interesting because what we did first, let me back up a little bit, because I think there's a key component that you missed, which was we had a email list of followers, right, that we created because we were delivering great content, and what we did is we surveyed them first. Right? We asked them, say, hey, you know what? These are some of the strategies that we're currently doing in our own business. You know, what interests you? Right? So they tell us, says, hey, yeah, this is interesting. So once they told us what they were interested in, that's when we started to say, hey, you know what? Let's get this going. As Jason said, hey, you know what? On that day, I just picked up the phone and called, said, hey, we're about to do this. The sales webinar, you know, are you ready for it? And then Jason's all like, no, we're not ready for it yet. No. I said, no, we are going to be ready for it. and long story short, we ended up creating some slides for these, right? And we sent out the invitation, and I think the first time we did this, right, we had about 100 people actually on that webinar, right, if I recall. Yeah, so picture about being in front of 100 people. Right, so if anyone has ever gone to an event or had an event or whatever it is, or a party, you know, picture being in front of 100 people. Okay, that's a lot of people. Okay, so you know, it kind of got me nervous. You know, yeah, it's not like the first time I spoke in front of people, but you know, got me nervous in the fact that I had never done that particular model of using a webinar. Right, so I've spoken in front of live stages in front of like 500 people, so which was cool, but I've never done it in front of a webinar, like behind a computer screen, you know. So the funny story is that when we did this, right, I was literally in my wife beater and basketball shorts, you know, sitting in the computer, and we just went live, and we went into presentation. And while we're in the presentation, it was funny because we didn't even have a way to collect the money. And that's the craziest part, you know. So while the presentation is going on, right, Jason's behind the scene trying to figure out some buttons and trying to weave together some bells and whistles and how to collect money, right? So well, all we had was a link that we bought that says here, go here now to go buy, right? So Jason's trying to figure out how to do like all the redirects and how to figure out how to actually collect the money, and we ended up actually using something called Eventbrite to actually collect it because I think that was like the easiest way to set it up,
Well, that was
and it
something
actually
that you had already
integrated.
used. You had used that for a live event, and I'd used it for free events in the past. And so that was just a quick go-to move. It wasn't because we wanted to wait till the last minute to do it. That just we hadn't launched a product like this before, and we got the link, but then we realized at the very end we're like, how do we process these payments? And we didn't want to send people
Yeah.
straight to like a PayPal screen, so we wanted something kind of buffer in between. So that's what we came up with.
Yeah, and as we got to the close, it was amazing because we went to the close and we said we used obviously the strategy scarcity, right? Because really it was scarcity because if people didn't buy, we weren't going to do it anyways, right?
Well,
So we were not bull. Yeah.
yeah, and we sold. I think we should tell what we sold. We
Uh-huh.
didn't create a product. We did what you have now kind of coined the no product launch, where we actually we're just going to sell a boot camp of and where we went live on webinar 4 weeks in a row and taught people a different strategy about what you were doing. So the beauty of that was that if no one bought, then we didn't have to do the boot camp. If we had spent all that time creating the product up front and no one bought, then we would have just had a bunch of videos that we'd have to figure out some other way to repurpose. So this was a
Yeah.
brilliant move because you wanted to launch something, but you didn't know. We didn't know what price people would be willing to pay. We didn't know if we were on point exactly with the message, even though we knew what they kind of wanted to learn based on the survey. We had never gone through that step-by-step process of actually selling something to our audience. So.
Yeah, but the pricing and the pricing was another thing too, a pricing strategy, right? This is huge. All businesses should really consider what the pricing strategy is. And for us, we picked the price point where we knew for a fact that people won't hesitate to buy something, right? There's a certain price point, especially like online, where people are willing to open up their pocketbooks and take out their open their wallet, take out their credit card, and says, "Here we go. Let's you know what? I believe in these folks. You know what? This is what I want to do to change my life and business." And they'll go ahead and pay for it. And that price point is anything under like $300, they'll do that all day long without thinking about it, But anything above that, now you're going into some other wares where they'll be like, oh my God, this is 500, 600. They're like, oh, I have to really think about this, So our price point was 197 for 4 weeks boot camp. Right, as Jason said. And the reason why we did 4 weeks is because if it's sold, then that gave us additional weeks that we can sell the product while we were doing the boot camps. So that was kind of the strategy behind it, So it wasn't nothing like, it sounds like just telling us the story, like we kind of went on the whim and says, yeah, you know what, let's go ahead and sell this. No. We had some strategy behind it, okay? That strategy was how to monetize it, right? So, of course, yes, the other parts we really didn't kind of think through, like the upsells, downsells, we didn't have that in there, right, as we do now. But point is we got there. So as we got to the end of the webinar, we started selling, we started selling like sales, 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 and we're like, holy smokes, this worked, and it was a beautiful thing. And then the coolest thing about it is that at that time we brought on a good friend of ours that actually was emceeing the webinar, right? So he's done like thousands of webinars, right? He does like literally a webinar, like 2-3 webinars a week, okay? So he's done a lot of those. So he was kind of like the MC and like the hype man, as you like to call it. So he did the introduction, helped me do the close and the Q&A and stuff like that. And the crazy thing about it is after it was finished, right? We were having a discussion, and then he was just like, dude, you converted over 20% on your first webinar. Like it was like 21% or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I was just like, okay, and it was like, so what, right? Because I had no idea or the context to apply it if it was good or bad. I was just like, shit, it just sold, hey, this is pretty cool, that was about it. And he was just like, no, this is crazy. He's all like, no one hardly sells 20% on their first webinar out the gates. He's all like, dude, you got this amazing product, man. We got to go ahead and go out there and go sell it like hotcakes to everyone. So we end up, speeding up the story, and I know we said that we're going to make the story short, but I want to kind of tie it into is that we got really, really excited. So we got what we like to call the SOS, right? The shiny object syndrome. So we saw the money, and we're like, oh my god, let's go make some more money. So we ended up hitting up someone in our mastermind to do a media buy. If anyone knows what a media buy is that basically you go out there and you have someone send out an email on your behalf and you send them to like whatever offer that you have. So in our case, our media buy that we went after was people that was remotely interested in investing in real estate. So we took some of the profits from there and we literally rolled it into physically that product. And not only that, but my good friend actually fronted a good chunk of that money because he believed in that product, so he fronted that. That amount was like, I want to throw out was like, what, 10 grand or something like that, right? And it was probably the number one stupidest mistake that we ever made in terms of investment, but one of the most important lessons that I have ever learned from doing that. And it takes balls to be able to do something like that, okay? So the kahunas, okay? So I give myself pat on the back for that, or that's how I justify so I can sleep well at night.
I mean, it made logical sense if, as newbies, because every time that we presented that information, it converted very highly. But what we didn't factor in was that we had built a lot of credibility and a lot of rapport with that initial audience that we were offering the product to, and they said that they wanted it. When we started going into other untapped markets, even though it seemed like a similar audience, they didn't have that same thought of us because they hadn't been listening to our podcast. We haven't been giving them free trainings and leading up to this, so that's why it didn't convert as well, in my opinion.
Correct. And the other thing, so we analyzed this for like hours on it after we got depressed, and we're just like, oh my God, every single thing that we're gonna sell after this, we're just recouping a loss. Yeah. It was sad. But we realized that we didn't have our nets in place, meaning that we didn't follow what we do like in our real estate business. Meaning that when we do any marketing campaigns for like our real estate business, we have what we like to call nets. Right, our safety nets, meaning that if we do a campaign, like a direct mail campaign, we send out letters, we don't just send it to our cell phones, right? We send it to a special phone number so we can track the amount of calls that comes in, and we can not only that, but it records the conversation so we can go back and analyze stuff, right? We didn't do it in this time. So when we send out the media buy, we send it out straight to a GoToWebinar registration page, okay? Terrible. GoToWebinar registration page had absolutely no tracking on there for analytics. We had no retarget pixels on there, okay, whatsoever, and the web page actually stunk and looked really, really ugly. Okay, so we sent it out and we got people on there. Okay, and I think we got like 100 people again on there, right? If I remember close to that, because the guy that we did the media buy from, he guaranteed at least that many registrants. So we're like, okay, cool, and we got that on there and we played the tape. So the beautiful thing is we played the tape, so nothing was different, and it bombed and it converted like at 2% or something like that, I think, right? Where we sold like 2 units or something like that. I forgot 3 units. And we're just like, oh my God, no, and we're so depressed. But the point is, we didn't have those nets, right? So if we had at least the retarget pixels on the analytics, and we could have tracked it a little bit better, and we could have run other ads in front of them to remarket and that kind of stuff, right? Because they did, that's the crazy part, okay? They sent us about 3,000 clickers to that page. So imagine at least if we cookied that 3,000 clickers, we could have reran ads in front of them. Okay, so the point of us telling you all of this is that things work. Okay, there's multiple ways to make money online, but really the tactics are never the problem. It's always a strategy problem on why it never worked, or it did work, or if it did work, how come it didn't work much as you wanted. Because all we had is, once it was successful, we threw out our common sense out the window. When we did, we stopped strategizing. Yeah, all we saw was we got like, oh yeah, this is exciting, and all we did was just look at all the positives, right? We said, hey, you know what? We get 100 people on here. If we convert maybe at 10%, we'll do 10 units. At 10 units, and we spend, hey, you know what? $200 a pop, maybe we'll make at least $2,000 on this. Worst case scenario, if we get 200 people on there, right? Worst case scenario, we'll make $4,000. If we get 300 people on there, we'll get $6,000, right? And if it converts to saying 20%, that $6,000 is $12,000, so we would have got money. That's the kind of stupidity
you always have that
we were making.
I think everyone goes through that when they're launching a product, is they start calculating, well, if the bare minimum at this conversion we'll make this, and this will happen, and it doesn't usually seem to work out the way you want it initially. But it's that really the point of today is not to discourage you, even though our story may be seen as something discouraging because we ended up losing money in the short term based on that media buy. But this really is supposed to be inspirational to you to actually take action and do so without having to put a lot of work up front so that you don't waste effort on something that isn't going to convert and sell. So let's get in, Jeff, into kind of the steps of how to launch that first initial product. And we came up with a simple little way to remember it. Is the SIP, SIP, stands for Simple Initial Product. And we just wanted that because we like the word simple and not to overcomplicate the process.
And a side note, he said SIP, not NIP.
Yeah, I don't think they confused it. So SIP,
okay.
SIP, Simple Initial Product. And let's just jam through the kind of bullet points that we have for this. We're not going to spend a ton of time on it, but I want everyone to have an actionable bullet step process of how to go out and create their first product.
Yeah, so the first step is get an idea, right? Obviously, aha, genius, Jason and Jeff, get an idea. Yes, get a freaking idea and write it down first off, right? So get an idea, and then once you get an idea, get an outline of at least bullet points on what that particular product does, okay? Now, once you have that, you have an idea of what that product does, okay? And when I say what the product does, it has to solve a problem. Okay, remember that. Okay, your income is directly proportionate to the size of the problem you solve in the marketplace. Okay, so that product that you create has to solve a problem for someone. Okay, someone, a business or an individual has to solve a problem. Bottom line. Okay, because that's obviously the inherent thing for business, right? Because if a business doesn't solve problems, theoretically, it's not a real business, in my opinion, right? So, anyways, get an outline of that. Then once you have that, this is where it gets interesting. Okay, is because once people have an outline of what they want to do, majority of the people will do what? They'll go out and create it, right? They'll say, hey, let me go ahead and create this, and let me see if it'll physically sell, right? There's a bunch of people that I'm talking to right now, like in the import-exporting business, and they say, hey, you know what? I want to import this, and they'll go out there and they'll go ahead and try it out, right? There was an interesting conversation that someone that had, they wanted to actually sell diapers, right? That the gentleman that I know wanted to sell diapers. I was like, really? You want to be in the shit business? I was like, yes, I want to sell diapers. We can get them at a very very cheap rate, right? So I was just like, okay. And they were just trying to figure out all the front end stuff on how to create it, how to manufacture it. But the problem was what? Never tested the market to see if the market would want that, right? Because keep in mind, something like
I mean, the market needs diapers, but is he in a position to
his diapers?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, his diapers. So again, the market would want diapers because people are buying diapers, but do they want his diapers and the message that you create for it? And after that, it was just like, nope, no, didn't even test it. So the point is, step number 3 is you got to test the market, okay? And to do that, you can do a couple ways, okay? Survey your list, okay? So if you already have an email list, survey them. Right? Send out a generic survey. Say, how can I help your business grow? Right? So if you're a service product, right, you can send that out and you can figure out to see what they're interested in, right? Now, people might say, well, Jeff, you're in the information product, so it won't work in my industry, right? So I'll give you an example, right? If you're in like the import-export business, right, or a tangible product business where you're selling a tangible product, right, you can survey your list and ask them, say, hey, you know what, which one of these products did you physically like? Right? Very simple. Right? You can survey them, and then you can say after that, it says, okay, what do you need the biggest help in? And then put it in the actual question, right? Something like if it's, I'll use the home remodeling thing again, right? So, okay, do you need help on getting new ideas on how to make the best kitchens, right? How to pick the best kitchens, how to design your bathroom so it can feel very spacious, right? How to and I'm using kind of like the real estate framework because that's kind of my background, okay? And you can use that, okay? And you can create these surveys to actually see what people will pick, okay? Now, if it's something like
I would even correct a little bit because we've made the mistake in our surveys of coming up with a lot of different ideas that we think people want and catering the questions so that they answer the way that we think they should answer. Instead, reframing that where we had our most successful surveys, especially in the marketing space, was what's the number one, we asked the question, what's the number one thing you're struggling with in your business and why, or something like that. Or in your kitchen example, what's the top room that you would like to remodel and why? something like that, to where you're not leading them into one specific path, but you're also narrowing it down to where they're not thinking they have to write a novel. They're just thinking about that one thing that's been bothering them.
I agree. I agree. And that's a strategy that you can implement even like in your autoresponders, right? So like your first email that you go out when people opt in, you can send that out. So it's a very, very, very cool strategy. So you know exactly what the people on your list wants, right? But the point is, if you have that, survey your list. Now, for all the people that are watching this or listening to this and say, hey, Jeff and Jason, I get it. You guys have a list, so you have an inherent competitive advantage versus us. I don't have a list whatsoever, so what should I do? Right? That kind of, okay? If that's the case, you got to buy traffic, okay? Buy traffic to see if someone is willing to physically what? Go ahead and want to buy something, okay? Now, I'll give you two tangible examples in this case, okay? But I'll come back to these two tangible examples when it comes to surveys. So again, go buy traffic. In this case, use Facebook, and I'll give you a cool little gift afterwards. We get through the bullet points on the two examples and a swipe file that I'm going to give you. So if you want to run ads, you can use this, okay? So again, survey your list. It's a proof of concept. Bottom line, survey list / AKA proof of concept to see if that people want it, okay? And once you have that, get about 100 interested people. Okay, so once you have about 100 interested people, that's when you want to launch the product. Okay, now what we recommend, okay, typically, okay, is to do a webinar, right? Do a webinar and get in front of those people and then sell. Okay, now if you tell me that, hey, you know what, I don't like to sell, I don't want to be a salesperson, then with all means, probably you're gonna never be successful in life. Okay, and the reason why I have to even be bold and make that kind of bold statement is because everyone is selling something all the time, right? Just like if you make that statement, I don't like to sell, you're selling me on the fact that you're not a salesperson, right? So the point is that you got to be able to sell. Anyone that's is an entrepreneur is selling something, okay? And you got to be able to sell. Right when you're trying to excite your team members to work with you or to bring someone on board to actually, work with you, you're selling. You got to be able to sell. And we talk about, Jason and I is huge on this, and we've even did a lab round about this, right? I think you did this, Jason, a lab round about selling, is that people are so afraid to sell in our country because they look at selling as being these little sleazy, car salesman type of deal, right? But really, when you're selling, you don't have to sell that hard, okay? Yes, you can do this high-power selling closes, okay? But as long as if you articulate your message on how you can solve a customer's problem, that's really selling, okay? And when you do that and you do it in a positive way, like how we teach you guys at Marketing Strategy Lab, you're going to absolutely be able to crush it. So the point is, get on there and do some type of sales webinar. Now, if you don't want to do a sales webinar, do a Google Hangout just like this, right? Or you can write an email to actually sell too. Now, obviously, writing an email is going to be a lot more difficult, especially if you're not good at writing copy, okay? Anything you want to add on that portion, on the selling part?
No, I agree, though. I mean, I've always, I guess initially I was fearful of the selling process just because I don't like to be that guy that people don't like to be around because I'm trying to pitch them something. But when we started framing it in a way where it was educational and we could provide a lot of value up front, and then people came to us and paid us for extended work with us, whether it be one-on-one coaching or whether it be going through our mastermind courses or different things, then that really shifted it for me. So you don't have to be that pushy salesman. You just have to find what is most valuable to your audience and find a way to offer it to them in a way that they're going to love paying for it, where they're going to see that they're paying you in exchange for something they're getting 10 times more value out of.
Correct. And a little side note as well that I want to give. So for the folks that are afraid to sell or never sold or think that they can't sell, okay, I tell this to a lot of my team members that I work with, okay, is that for you to be able to sell, you have to be willing to be able to buy. Meaning that if you're not willing to buy something, then probably you'll never be able to sell anything. Right? Because you have this, what I like to call a BS radar, your bullshit radar, at an all-time high. So any company that gives you any sales message, you're like, oh my God, it doesn't work, it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and you're never going to buy anything. right? So, even let's use a stupid car example, right? So you see a new car example, and it's this new luxury car, and you're like, oh no, that's a really crappy car. I bet you it doesn't do what it tells you to do. I bet you that little, automatic, push start thing that they have in the car that opens the doors, and, this jetpack comes out with the parachute that comes out. I bet you it doesn't work and it stinks. So you're very negative, right? So you're not willing to buy. Okay, so my goal is, if you're struggling to sell, if you ever struggle to sell, is to go out there and just buy stuff. Okay, and if you buy stuff, especially in the realm of stuff that you want to actually create something in, then you're going to start going into their sales funnel, and you're going to start picking up one or two things that they're doing that you're going to be like, oh, you know what, I like how they're selling. And then you're going to start incorporating that in your sales message, and that's going to help you become a better salesperson, okay? So a lot of times when I try to learn a new sales technique, like when I first got into real estate, right? I remember I was 18 years old. I literally went to go see real estate agents, 18-year-old kid, and I said that, hey, you know what? I want to go ahead and buy some houses. Now, obviously, they look at me, and they were just like, because I look so young, they're like, you're going to buy houses? And then it says, yes, and I stand there, it says, yes, I want to buy a house, and you're going to sell it to me. And then they'll be like, okay, and they go into their sales presentation, and then I'm taking notes, mental notes while they're doing that, so that way I can use that when I sit down with in front of sellers when I want to buy the property directly from the sellers. Okay, so things like that. So again, going off on a tangent there, but you got to be able to sell. And once you do that, right, collect the money. Okay, meaning that do not be afraid to collect the money. A lot of times people have this negative thing saying, hey, you know what, something evil about collecting money, right? For something that you're doing. They're like, oh my God, let's just not collect money. No, you need to collect money. All businesses are non-profit organization on purpose. Hope you guys caught that joke, okay? Non-profit organizations on purpose, meaning that you got to make sales, right? If you're not making sales, you're not a real business, right? You might as well go do some charity work, go to, Africa and become a missionary or something like that. Not to say that's all wrong if you're doing that, okay? But again, so you can do that kind of stuff. So collect the money, and then there you go. Once you collect the money, then tell them that, hey, you know what, you're going to do a boot camp. Right? That's what we recommend, because what we like to call a simple initial product, meaning that you're collecting the money up front and you're not lying to these people. Okay, never ever lie. Okay, because if you're lying, then you're a scumbag and a total dirtbag, and I hate you, and I wish I can delete you from watching this even hangout or listen to this podcast. Okay, if you're lying, you're a scumbag. Okay, you're creating this initial product. Okay, the SIP strategy is to create something, collect the money up front, so that way you can be excited creating the product, okay? So when you sell it, we've done it where we've done 4-week boot camps. We've done it where we've done 1-day boot camps. We've done it where we've done live events. I've done it where I've done one-on-one coaching face-to-face. I've done it where we've done, monthly retainer consultation from people in the same way. Okay, so again, you gotta do it and collect the money, and just make it a very, very low impact thing. Okay, like I'll give you now the tangible example. So let me give you a tangible example. And what we're gonna currently do, okay, is that we're gonna create a low impact product for our business to generate and help people generate more business. Okay, and one of the specialties that we have is Facebook ads right now. So earlier, I talked about a strategy that you can use Facebook to see if a concept that you have is actually a good concept, right? Proof of concept, right? Strategy. So write this down. If you're running, driving, or whatever it is, and you can't write this down, come back and go to marketingstrategylab.com and you can get this down. But I'm going to give you basically a swipe file of files of advertisement that I've collected over the last several years or so of people that's running Facebook ads. And all you have to do is look at those and use that as a template to create your ads. Okay, so you can go to marketingstrategylab.com/FB as in Facebook, swipe, SWIPE, to get this PDF book, okay? And it's actually, I think it's about like 40 pages long, it might be. I'm not even sure if it's that long. But you can download it. It's absolutely free, no charge, but if you want to send me money, you can absolutely send me money too. Okay, and you can get it for free, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to literally create a master swipe file from all the marketers out there selling whatever product that's out there in different niches, and we're going to create a swipe file so that way we can sell that as a product. Now here's our simple initial product, or the SIP strategy that we're going to use to actually do this, okay? Facebook, if you know anything about Facebook, you know that Facebook has what? An algorithm based on if you hit the click like buttons, right? Guess what happens? A bunch of stuff of that thing pops up, right? So just recently in my case, right, I clicked on some, because it was September 11 just recently, right? So I clicked on some conspiracy things with some September 11. So guess what? My news feed is all full of now. Bunch of conspiracy stuff. Yeah, it's funny. Okay, so as a strategy and even as a case study. Okay, so here comes the repurpose strategy again that Jason and I that we really talk about, is that I'm going to hit like on every single ad that I'm going to see on Facebook. Okay, literally, and I'm going to see what kind of ads that Facebook is going to spit up. And when every single ad that it spits out, I'm going to take a screenshot of that and put that in a file and create a swipe file out of that. And once that swipe file is created, the first 50 people is going to get it for free, and after the 51st people, I'm going to start selling this as what I like to call an introductory product for $7. So I'm going to create a big, huge swipe file, and I'm going to sell it for $7. So I want to actually give you that kind of that strategy on what we're actually going to do, so you can actually follow along as you follow this podcast, follow our journey as we're doing this, and maybe someone out there will get smart and they'll try to bootleg us and maybe use the idea, but who knows, right? So if you do that, more power to you. And if you want to maybe collaborate with us, then let us know as well. And one last thing that I said that I was going to give you as a tangible example for the strategy on proof of concept, okay? Is one of in my investment business, right? One of our head of acquisition guy moved out to a country called Panama. Okay, that's where he was born in, and he wanted to do real estate there, right? So what we said is, okay, can we buy Facebook traffic to generate leads in Panama through Facebook? Okay, that was the big question. Mm-hmm. So to prove this, right, most people will do what? Create like a squeeze page, a landing page, and then buy traffic to it, right, to see if it converts, right? But in our case, we just said, screw this. So we ended up Googling like Panama real estate investments, and we found a competitor's website. So we took this website, then we created an ad, and we bought traffic to it, just to see if people will even remotely click on the ad. And guess what? Surprise, surprise, our ad spend cost on that, or cost per click, was literally like in the pennies, like 2-3 cents a penny. Mm-hmm. Okay? So which is sick. So then that leads me to believe what? Proof of concept, at least getting people into your website, you can get them that cheaply. Now the conversion site might be totally different. So the next step that we did is we created landing pages using lead pages. And if you want more information on that, go to our resource section on Marketing Strategy Lab to actually get our account. And obviously that's an affiliate account. So if you want to get it from us, please do, so you can support the show. And we created a lead pages in Spanish, and we started driving traffic to it. And we ended up finding out that we were getting opt-ins at 20 to 25 cents an opt-in, which is sick. So again, using that simple proof of concept to see, okay, does this strategy work versus trying to exert all this energy up front, okay? So I hope that's what you guys can take away from it. And did I miss anything on this? I know I kind of jumped around all over the place on this.
No, I think that was good. I just want to, really the show today was to inspire you to go out and create that first initial product. If you're struggling to figure out how to start creating income online, then just start coming up with some ideas. If you have an email list, then you can do the survey method. If you don't have a list, then start looking at different ways to buy traffic. But all of this we're going to be expanding on and showing you some more case studies and examples in our mastermind group. So go to joinbam.com, joinbam.com, and we'll add you to our group. It's no charge right now, so we're not selling anything to get into the group or anything. It's really just a way that we can all mastermind and cultivate our ideas together. And a lot of people are already posting their squeeze pages and landing pages and different ideas on there and letting the group kind of help them navigate through that. And it's been a really fun process and a good experiment so far. So definitely take advantage of that. And then lastly, we want to welcome you to go to marketingstrategylab.com/reviews. If you like the show, if you want us to continue doing this, then we really appreciate your feedback. If you could leave a review on marketingstrategylab.com/reviews. Helps boost us in the rankings and also lets us know that we're doing a good job if you like it. So with that being said, any final words from you, Jeff?
you got to go out there and take massive action. It's not a coincidence and accident that Jason and I are doing this. Okay, is we're not just doing it for the sake of our health. Obviously, my back is all blown out, so I'm in pain sitting here for like almost an hour here. Okay, but we're doing this is because we believe in giving back. Right? It's something that's core to us. That's our core value. Right? People, I believe, lives in two different ways. Right? One is they live in fear or they live in love. And in our case, Jason and I, we're not living in the world of fear. We live in the world of love, meaning that we love what we do. We're passionate about what we do, and we're passionate about just genuinely just about people and making sure that seeing that they can succeed. So, if you love this type of stuff and you kind of connect with us and you kind of have the same belief that we do, that you want to live in a world of love versus living in a world of fear, then give us some love on marketing strategies. I'd go to iTunes, leave us a review, and then go check out our BAM, Badass Marketer, and then become part of the BAM fam. Oh, that kind of rhyme, right? BAM fam. I should be a rapper. And go to joinbam.com and become part of it, and then really start sharing, because I think sharing is the way that people learn. Just like what we're doing here, sharing the stories, right? Not just the successes, but the struggles that you go through, right? Especially building businesses, and that's where really truly where people I think grow, okay? Because successes are one thing, but really it's the pain and struggle that people have to go through to actually get to that point, and that's where people really grow and flourish. So again, that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for sticking with us for all this time, all this long, and for the folks that's been with us, Jason and I, for like the last 3, 4, 5 years now. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you guys at the BAM Mastermind group. So
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
bye bye.